Hello, I'm Pete Martin. Welcome to Fiddle Tips. This video is on how to train your ear to play in tune. Intonation on the fiddle is one of the toughest things to do. Intonation, of course, just means how in tune you are. Most players have not trained their ear how to hear intonation accurately, and it's extremely important to do. So this video will show you one method of doing that. Just before we play a note, the ear needs to hear where the intonation of that note should be. The next thing we do is we place our finger on the fingerboard. The third thing that happens is our ear tells us if our finger was placed in the correct place or not, or whether that is sharp or flat of our intended intonation target. And the last thing is, if we did not place our finger down correctly, the ear tells us to move the finger until it's in the correct place. Now, for this process to work well, our ear needs to know where the intonation of every note is. I truly believe that most fiddlers have not trained their ears to hear exactly where intonation is. So this process of training the ear will help anyone to play in tune better. You will need a chromatic tuner to do the following exercises. Most tuners today are chromatic, and chromatic simply means that it can tune any note, not just like the notes of the fiddle, the open strings of the fiddle or the open strings of the guitar or something like that. So most tuners made today are chromatic, and they'll work just fine. The first thing we need to do is make sure that our instrument is in tune to the tuner. Right now we're just going to use an example just on the A string itself. So you could start with just the A string in tune, but I'd suggest tuning the whole instrument to your tuner and make sure that it's as close as you can get it. So before we do anything, we need to think of the sound of the open A and the index finger on A, which is B. These are the first two notes of an A major scale, or in other words, do, re. Okay? If you know do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, just think of do, re. Without looking at your tuner, so you can easily do this with your eyes closed, play your open A string, make sure once again that you tune the A to the tuner, and then play the note B, so the first finger. Do that several times. Now, after you play the notes A and B, really listen to your B note and see if your finger is where your ear is telling you to put it. Do it a number of times and make sure it's right where your ear says that pitch is. Do not look at your tuner. Once you are pretty sure that your index finger note, or the note B, is in tune, then open your eyes and look at the tuner and see if it really is. If you're not in tune, try to take note of how far off you are. So you can read that by kind of how the needle, if it's a needle display, is off, there's quite a number of tuners for like smartphones and things like that that will actually tell you how far in cents you're off. And a cent is 100 cents are the difference, the musical distance between two consecutive half steps. So if you're 10 cents off, that means that you're 10% out of tune. So really see if you're not in tune with your index finger note, the B note, try to see if there's a certain amount that you're off. And you need to observe this over a period of time. The next thing to do is repeat everything that we've done here a number of times. So always observe when you open your eyes and look at your tuner after your ear is telling you that that B note is as in tune as your ear can make it. Open your eyes and look and see if you're sharp or flat, and if you are sharp or flat, by how much. You need to observe that, because if you're consistently off, especially in the same place all the time, what that means is your ear is not telling you accurately where that pitch is. And if that's the case, now you need to do some ear training to tell you where that pitch is. So here's the process that we use for training the ear. First of all, make sure, once again, that your fiddle is in tune, that your open A string is in tune to the tuner. Then what I want you to do is, this time you're going to look at the tuner and you're going to place your index finger on the B note, and you're going to adjust that B note until your tuner says you're right in tune. When your tuner does say you're right in tune, what you need to do is play that note and really listen to it a whole bunch. You just have to somehow absorb that sound in your mind until you can remember what it is. Let's say that you're always a little bit sharp, about the same amount. Let's say 15 cents sharp with your B note when you would finger it, and just use your ear by itself to tell you where that note was. If you notice that you're always 15 cents sharp, by watching the tuner play the note, the B note, right in tune, and then by watching your tuner then move your finger until the note is 15 cents sharp. And what I want you to do is really listen to both of them so that you can hear the correct one and you can hear the out of tune one, and that you can compare them to each other. That really helps to hear where your ear says it is, but then to readjust that to where the pitch really is. Now eventually you want to repeat this process on all of the notes of the A scale on the A string. So that means the C sharp note, which is the middle finger, the D note, which is the ring finger, and the E note, which is the pinky finger. It's important to do all of them. It can very easily be done to where you just do one note for maybe a period of time, until that maybe start with B until the B note gets to where it's pretty much in tune. Then do C sharp. And you can either play open A to C sharp, or you can play open A, B, and then C sharp. In other words, do, re, mi. Sometimes it helps people to play up the scale to the intended note, and it's a little easier for them to find pitch that way. If that's the case, then go ahead and do it that way. All right, after you've done that, then I would do the same fingering on the E string, the D string, and the G string. When you can accomplish that, then I would go back to the A string and play the notes of the B flat major scale. So in other words, the first finger low on B flat, the second finger low on C natural, the third finger normal on D, and the fourth finger low on E flat. Okay? Then I would take that same fingering and move that to the E string, then the D string, then the G string. If you do this, you'll get to where you can understand and get a good feel for most of the finger reaches that you'll need to play most fiddle tunes. Now there's one other benefit that you get out of this, and that other benefit is you learn how to hear much, much smaller differences in pitch much more easily. When I did this, when I kind of made up this exercise, when I could tell that I really needed to work on my intonation, within a couple of months it was amazing, first of all, how much more in tune I was playing, and second, about how much better I was at hearing slight differences in intonation. Me being a bluegrass fiddler, I intentionally, a number of times for blues notes, play a little on the flat side of the note or a little on the sharp side of the note, because quite often at certain places in certain pieces, that can really help add some to the feel and kind of getting the right spirit of that particular piece. So that's one of the huge benefits that it made for me. Now, one of the things about this process is you have to do it consistently over a period of time. You can't just do this once or twice and expect the ear to pick that up that quickly. You have to do this over a period of time. So I would suggest, if intonation is a big priority, if getting better intonation is a big priority in your playing, that this is the first thing you do every time you pick up your fiddle. Now, you don't have to spend a lot of time doing it. You could do this exercise very easily in 5 minutes or so, 5 to 10 minutes. Maybe do a couple of notes in 5 to 10 minutes. And then, of course, move on to other things that you're practicing. But it has to be done regularly over a period of time for the ear to start getting trained to where the notes really are. So best of luck, and let me know how it goes.